Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to talk about meditation. And I want to talk about meditation when you're sick or not feeling well. Last week, had a couple of days there where I wasn't feeling well at all. Don't know what it was, maybe flu or something, I don't know. But I felt pretty bad, had a headache, and I also had, I might have had a little bit of a fever because my thoughts. You know how when you have a fever and you're delirious? Maybe you remember when you were a little kid, you had a fever and you were delirious. Well, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was something like that. When I would just sit in my chair, then the thoughts, the images, almost like dream type images would just flow by. And then I would be sleepy, very sleepy, and then I would fall asleep, fall into them, or partially into them. And so I spent the whole day I was not totally there, I was out of it. You've heard the expression to be out of it. Well, when you're out of it, where are you when you're out of it? Well, you're subject to those, to that dream stream, that thought stream. And so I went but you know what? I found it hard to meditate. I found it hard to meditate, to actually sit quietly and observe thought. Nevertheless, I was able to do it. So let's talk about that, shall we? Let's talk about meditation. If you've listened to me at all, if you've read any of my books or listened to my radio programs, read any of my articles, you know that I know a lot about awareness. And I know a lot about spirituality and about mysticism. And I know a lot about the practical side of spirituality. I know a lot about relationships. Okay? And I know that the good Lord intended for us to actually to have it all. He wanted us to have wisdom, to have understanding, to be full of joy and happiness, and to discover many wonderful things about His world, His universe, this earth, and about Him. Okay? You can remember when you were a little kid the joy of discovering things. You could go out in the backyard and discover leaves or beautiful rocks or stones or flowers or bugs. Okay? And you loved reading. Okay? And then some of you loved math, science. Okay? Which I do also. I like math and I like science. I love discovering about God's universe. And I marvel at it. So it's fun. And I enjoy psychology. And I learn a lot about psychology. It's fascinating. And it has a practical side. When I learn about psychology, then I share it. My radio programs, my books. Okay. So, meditation is something I know a lot about. And I know that most people are basically in a hypnotic trance most of the time. They're not fully aware. They may be awake, but they're not fully aware. They are subject to things that capture their attention. They're subject to thoughts that rise up and out of who knows where. Okay, they're subject to leftover suggestions and programming, and memories, and emotions from the past, from traumas in the past that keep surfacing. Okay? And coloring the present. Most people spend a lot of time lost in thought. They're lost in, first of all, worrying. See, worry, if you're sitting there worrying, then you are in a trance. You're not fully there. See, you're out of it. Okay, you're out of it. And where are you? You're lost in thoughts between your two ears. And so there you are, floating away with worry. Or perhaps you're thinking about what happened yesterday, what happened this morning, what somebody said, what somebody did. Thinking about it over and over again, especially if you became resentful or upset, then it stuck in your craw, formed a memory, and now you think about it over and over. You think about it, what you should have said, what you could have said, or you try to change it, make it come out more like the way you like, or you sit around planning about what you're going to do next time. And then you sit around in fantasy, just thinking about who knows what. I saw a hypnotist on a YouTube video. He's very good. He's a very good hypnotist. Okay. And he said, you know, if somebody's sitting there, you know, daydreaming, they're like this, lost in a daydream, then you walk up to them carefully and you say, "Excuse me," and they say yes, and you say, "What were you just thinking about?" "I don't know." See, floating away with the dream stream, with the daydream stream, with the thought stream, floating away with it, carrying you away. Okay. Or we're lost in thinking about what we're going to do. A lot of people, when they're driving, they drive right by the exit that they should have taken because they're thinking about what they're going to do when they get home, what they're going to watch, what they're going to eat. See, all that kind of stuff. They're not totally there. So, now you see how that's akin to, similar to, analogous to being sick. When you're lost in delirium, when you're lost in thoughts that keep that surface and carry you away. Okay. So how do you? So now, but you know that we're not at our best when we're lost in thoughts. We're not at our best. We're out of it. We're easy to sneak up on and surprise. We're not thoughtfully aware. And we're not fully present to deal with the situation that's there. See, it's an ever-changing landscape all around you. People come up, your kids come up, your wife, your husband. Things are occurring that you need awareness for, especially with other people. You need to have much awareness. But if you're lost in worries and doubts and fears, why, you can be having a conversation with them and you don't even hear what they're saying, because you're not totally there. See, a lot of kids have trouble studying. They have trouble focusing on their work. You know why? Because their mind is, because at home, see, they something's wrong at home. Their parents are fighting, divorcing, something's happening at home, and so they're lost in that worry stream. And they're not totally there to focus on their studies. Okay. So you really ought to be fully aware and not lost in those daydreams. So that's what the true meditation is for. Now, the other thing you have to understand is that human beings were not meant to spend their life lost in fantasy. We were meant to live in reality, in God's great green earth, in His beautiful universe, on a journey of discovery, not lost in fantasy. Okay? But why are we lost in fantasy? Well, because we're a fallen race. Adam started the whole thing off. He was ambitious. He wasn't content to simply learn to discover God, to be on an endless journey of discovery like Star Trek, Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's what it would have been for him. Fantastic. But no, he was tempted to want to try it on his own with knowledge. He wanted to know himself as God instead of knowing God. See? And so that's what we inherit. And since we're a fallen race, to become aware, you become aware of your fallenness, and you become aware of things that you didn't handle properly, and you become aware of your basic lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. You become aware of that. It's very humbling. But for the ego, that kernel of pride that we inherit, it doesn't want to see that it's wrong. It doesn't want to see that it doesn't know. It wants to play God. And so we play God by judging other people, condemning them when they make mistakes. Okay? We play God by looking for knowledge. We want to have special knowledge so we can lord it over other people, or so we can know the future, or so we can make a lot of money really fast without earning it. See, so we can impress other people. See, knowledge. So that's the way we are. So because we want knowledge to impress people and all that sort of thing, well, that would tend to lose us in thoughts, wouldn't it? Stuffing our brain with. See, and the other thing, because the ego is hungry and thirsty. The ego hungers and thirsts after unrighteousness. Okay, because the ego wants to play God. So the ego is always on the alert, always watching for some little tidbit of gossip or some little piece of knowledge that they can use to impress other people. See, or the ego, on its wobbly throne, is always on the alert for any slight, anyone not respecting it or seeing it in a good light. See? So it's both hungry for praise, see, and paranoid about being put down. So it loves praise and resents criticism. See? And so you have all of that. That's not a way to live, though. It's not a way to live. To spend all your time looking for praise or something to judge other people for when they don't praise you, and then escaping into thoughts to hide from the guilt of playing God. See, conflict and anxiety arise when you get close to the light, when you come out of your daydreams. When you come out of your daydreams, then you have to realize that you mishandled situations with your partner, with your kids. You're messing up in life. You're phony with people. You pretend to know things when you really don't know. Okay? You're guilty for playing God. See? And so you become aware of that when you come out of the thought stream. And so now you see why the guilty ego that doesn't want to admit it's wrong and doesn't want to see that it's wrong will then definitely want to hide. It won't want to come back to reality. It will want to hide. So that's the way a lot of people are. But some people, hopefully you're one of them, really would like to come back to reality. You'd be willing to admit that you've made some mistakes, and you'd like to rediscover the joy that you knew when you were a little child, the joy of discovery, the joy, and not spend your life hiding in worries, doubts, and fears, and thinking about the past and worrying about the future. See, you'd rather be in a bright and beautiful, blessed present, living spontaneously on a journey of adventure, and find your purpose in life. Find why you are here, and discover of God. See, a lot of us, we have questions too about God and about Jesus, and we've heard things. Maybe we went to Sunday school, or we read about religious things, and we have an interest in know. We would like to know. We would like to really know, but not from the hand of man, not from some group or some organization. You would like to know yourself. See? Well, I've got some wonderful news for you, some good news, and that is that you can. Okay? And people like Abraham, Isaac, Enoch, Elijah, these great, Jeremiah, Isaiah, these great people Ruth, okay? They had a one-on-one relationship with God. One man and his God. One woman and her God, okay? Didn't have to go to church. Didn't have to read the Bible. They didn't even have a Bible to read. They walked with God. See? They walked with God. So you can too. That's what Adam should have done, but he blew it. But God has made provision that you may walk with God. But to do so, you have to come back to reality. And now you see all the benefits of coming back to reality. So now you see what the true meditation is. True meditation helps you to get out of being lost in the thought stream, submerged in the thought stream, and helps you to mentally stand back from that and be in reality. Okay? That's what meditation is for. And then when you're in reality, you have access to intuition, okay, which you could call conscience, wisdom, understanding, okay. And then when you're in reality, then you can begin to see in God's light, in the inner light. You see, you'll see the meaning of the moment. You'll see whether your child has a true need. See, and then you take some time with your child. You'll see whether people are being honest or there's something not quite right about what they're saying, being a little phony. You'll see that in the light, see? You'll detect deception. And you'll also begin to see what is true. It'll be beautiful. You'll just see. You'll wake up one morning, you'll just know. Some of these questions you've always wondered about, all of a sudden you'll just know. You won't even know how you know, you just know. So there's just so many wonderful things in reality. But in order to be in reality, you have to be out of being submerged in the thought stream. Okay? Because you're either in reality, in God's light, or you're in the thought stream. Those are the only two places you can be. So to come back to reality, that's what the meditation helps you to do. Because it's just a little simple, formal, well, not formal, it's a little structured way of practicing being in the moment and not lost in thought. It's very simple. You sit, first thing in the morning, you get up, you go sit quietly, you close your eyes, you look at the inside of your eyelids, and you see the little patterns of light, little pixels of light, like a warm glow on the inside of your eyelids. So you look at that. You watch that light on the inside of your eyelids. And at the same time, you become aware of your hand or your hands. So your hand becomes tingling, okay? And perhaps warm, tingly warm. So you look at the little pattern of light on the inside of your eyelids, become aware of your hand. Now you're in the moment. When you're looking at the little delicate light, little pixels of light on the inside, or sparkly light, or glow of light, and you are watching that on the inside of your eyelids, see, now you're not in thought. You're not lost in a daydream. See, there you are, looking at the inside of your eyelids, like they were a screen with light on, little particles of light on. And you're aware of your hands. So now you're in reality. Maybe you can hear a bird singing outside, or a car goes by. Hey, you're anchored, you're in the moment. Okay, well, that's what you practice for 5 minutes. Morning, do it at lunch, do it in the evening. And at other times during the day for a couple of minutes or whatever, whenever you can, practice that, okay? Now you'll discover that that sometimes it's hard to remain anchored because the thoughts rise up. What you're going to do, what you're going to say, where you're going to go, what you got planned for the day. See, especially in the morning, those rise up. And then all of a sudden you'll notice you're sitting there, and instead of looking at the inside of your eyelids, seeing little particles of light and being aware of your hands or your hand, now you notice that you're lost in that thought. But you know what? The moment that you're aware that you're lost in that thought, that moment you are once again back in reality, because you're aware that you had been lost in the thought. Now you're back in reality. See? So in that moment of awareness, you're back in reality. You're not floating away with the thought stream. It's like the difference between sitting on the bank of a river and watching the river flow by, or jumping into the river and then being pulled by the currents down the river. See, you don't want to be being pulled by the currents down the river. You want to be sitting on the bank. So, to a great extent, coming back to reality is a process of just of snapping out. Luckily, there's no effort involved. Just all of a sudden you become aware that you were lost in thought, and now you're no longer lost in thought again. Then a little bit later you become aware you were lost in thought, and now you're not lost in thought anymore. Just snapping out, snapping out, snapping out. Okay? So now you can see, I want to get back now and put a little polishing touch on this video where we're talking about meditating when you're sick. The only difference is when you're sick, maybe you have a little fever or whatever. Now the thoughts seem to be stronger. They seem to loom up and overwhelm your consciousness, your wavering consciousness. See? However, you will notice that if you had begun practicing the meditation before you got sick, okay, when you're really sick and with a fever or something, that's not the time to start practicing the meditation. Wait until you're well, and then practice it. Like I said, every morning, noon, and evening. But then if you do become a little bit sick, well then, and those thoughts are rising up, and the daydreams and the images and all those things, then you will be able to observe them. You will become very aware of what's going on in your mind. You will actually observe those images. See? Instead of being lost in them and pulled mindlessly away with them, you'll observe them. So you may not have the strong sense of being the observer, okay, because you're not feeling very well. Nevertheless, you will be the observer. So even though you're sick, you still have some objectivity. You still have some awareness. You still have some apartness from the thought stream. See? And to the extent that you can connect with the inner light from God, see? Even if just by looking at the inside of your eyelids, becoming aware of your hands, to the extent that you can do that even for a second, already there's a second of God's light shining in your being and changing everything for the better. Okay? Even for a second. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and please check out some of the other videos I have, which are really good, and some of my books. You can preview my books, for free. You go to my website, sheddingshackles.com, or the old website, talktoapastor.org, or commonsensecounseling.org. You'll find the same content at all of them. You go there, and then go to the resources tab, which is the drop-down menu, and then click on books, and then there they are, and then you can preview. You can read like maybe the first chapter for free, see, or you can go to Amazon, preview them at Amazon. So those are very good. And the meditation, of course, I really recommend that you can start with a free meditation, the free one, which is called the Easy Meditation. It's free. Okay? It's only 6 minutes long to learn. Practice it several times, or many times, as many times as you want, with my voice, listening to my voice on your MP3 or whatever, and then do it on your own. Okay, and then you might graduate from there to the one of my more elaborate meditations, because there you get more instructions about life, about maintaining the meditative state, and you also get booklet, and you also get 2 free ebooks. Okay, for a suggested donation of $10 for the elaborate meditation, usually 3 parts or 4 parts. Booklet, 2 free ebooks. See, you get a lot for a little donation. Helps me to stay on the air. Helps me to keep going. Okay. My name is Roland.